Okay, so we've been going over Michi's book, Back Checker Strategy. And we've gone through the various stages, so what do you call it, initial stage, where you haven't moved your back checkers yet, your advanced stage where you've made the advanced anchor, 4 or 5 point anchor. And so now we're into the completed stage, what Michi calls the completed stage. And what the completed stage is basically you escaped your back checkers and you just have your midpoint to clear. So you're really in kind of a midpoint holding game. And so the strategy here is very simple. In almost all cases, we'll go over an exception or two, but it's play super safely, what he calls super safely. So, for instance, here we have a 4-1 to play, and so there are two plays to think about. You could make the 5 point, which is kind of the default and automatic play I think most people would make, or you can play safely, going 6-1. And so, what do you think? Anyone have any strong opinion on that?
I'd make the 5 point. There's very few return shots, and if we just go to the 1 point, position's very difficult to bring home.
Yeah,
it's a good opportunity.
Yeah,
I expect it's wrong.
Well, that's what I would have done, and I don't know. I may still do that, but of course, in Michi's rules is that you do actually that this actually is the right play. Now, this is interesting in XG, where it actually is, and these are very close. Super safe is 6-1. That's very close here. It turns out that if you roll it out, which I did, actually, if you go to higher levels of analysis for XG, you see it gets actually discussed. Yeah, now the 6-1 play is better, and if you do the plus, it's still very close, but the 6-1 is still a tiny bit better. I actually did a rollout of these two plays, and it turns out that the 6-1 is, it's a small amount, 0.028. So if you made this play, it's not terrible. In fact, there's the problem is, okay, black has a 5 point board, and if you get hit, you're dead. And by making this play, you're leaving 1-6, 3-6, 4-6, and 4-5 to hit. So you're leaving that's 8 numbers to hit. So that's that's kind of a lot to turn what should be a fairly easy bear in and bear off to a instant loss. So but that's his point, is play super safely from this position once you're in the completed stage. Now it sort of implies, he didn't talk a lot about, but you really have to be ahead too for this to work, for this to be the right play. I think if you're I didn't actually look at this, but if you're this is even, if you're not ahead, you're probably going to want to hit here, and that will get you ahead and build you a better board. But he didn't go into any examples like that. But anyway, that's the main idea, is play super safely. So let's look at a few more examples from this. Here's one. So I mean, again, there are two really clear plays here, at least that I think are clear, which is making the bar point. That's what you almost always do in a 6-1, with a 6-1 in this situation. Now I think you should be clear. Here you're not going to hit loose. Often with a 1, you're going to hit loose off the 5s. So I mean, you could do 14-8 and then hit loose, but that leaves all direct 5s and a 1 double 1s, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. That's a whole lot of shots. and black has a much better board. It's not, it's not the end of the end of the game like the other position was, but it's still pretty bad. So, and this one is a little bit clearer. So look at the answer. It's, again, the theme of tonight's thing is when you're in depleted stage, it's super safe here. And I guess I don't know if you call that completed yet. It's almost complete because this checker is not quite safety, but you're by the next play you're in completed stage. And so here it's a blunder not to play safe. Let's put the arrows up. So the only safe one is there. Well, actually you could play 6 down, but then there's no 1. So you play your safe 1 there and you save 6 in, and you hope for a better roll next time. But again, super safe here. There are other things involved too. It's not just checkers. The fact that black has a fairly strong board and that white basically has nothing, no board, that adds into it. But the main theme is when you've cleared the back checkers and they're on the midpoint, don't give your opponent a chance to get back in by leaving shots if you can help it.
Well,
Yeah, so here's another one. And so here, well, what are plays we see here? And there are really 2 of them that I see, or I guess maybe 3, but which ones do we want to consider here?
well, I come to the bar point. The question is whether I hit en route.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and this is a tough one too. We're up 11, and after the row we'll be up another 8. So we're up 19, which is a pretty good lead. But there's not a whole lot of downside to hitting, and it does set him back. Put someone on the bar and does set him back. And the question is, so is that 2 questions? Is that worth it? And then if you are going to hit, do you want to leave shots so that you have a better chance of coming in, or not?
I think you had a question from Ann.
Oh, Ann, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hi. So I'd move the guy 15-13. And then what's wrong with just bringing somebody in from, say, the 8 point?
Yeah.
So you
Well,
start
yeah.
to get guys in your inner board.
Yeah. So for Michi's kind of proverb here is you play super safely. And so the question is, does that mean, because you can play safe, you can hit him and set black back and then come in, or you could just not hit him at all and you don't set black back. The problem with that is that you give Jack Black more chances to get in the game by racing. So if he rolls, big doubles, he's right back into the game. And, you could have had him back instead of after the roll. If you don't hit him, you're up 19. And if you do hit him, you're up 19 plus 9, you're up 28. So, 28 is better than 19 in terms of the race. But, we have made no inner board points yet. And, if we play super safe and put him on for the checker on the 15 up to the 7, we're not really we're not diversified there at all, and it's going to be hard to make points without leaving another blot here in the 8, or a checker in the outfield. So those kinds of questions. Now I think you asked, I think your question was 15-13 and then 6 in somehow.
Or, yeah, either from the 8 or the 7. Yeah.
Yeah, or this one. And this is safe. It gets you you have the 19 pip lead. The problem with it is, though, if you're going to do this, you're basically giving up all contact, because Black is going to move his checker out. He's not going to let you hit him because he's going to play for the race, even though his racing chances aren't very good. And by bringing a checker in from the 8 or the 7 to the ace or the deuce, you're sending a checker deep into your inner board.
Right,
And
yeah,
that's not the most efficient way to bear off. You generally, the good rule to follow is you want to stack your checkers on the 6, 5, and 4 points when you're coming in, in a no contact situation, and you don't want to stack checkers on the ace, 2, or 3. So
okay,
if you're going to, play it super safe, you're going to come from the 15 all the way to the 7. So that you don't necessarily go deep, and then you're going to lose later 5s and 6s. You're going to come down from the midpoint, and 2s, 3s, and 4s. You're going to probably come in and bring checkers into the 4, 5, or 6. So the question really is, do you hit or not? Well, do you hit or not? And then if you do hit, do you bring like 13 to 11 and giving up a number of shots, or do you go 9 to 7? And so, in keeping with the theme, the answer is, well, you hit, and then you stack. You don't leave the fly shots. And this is a fairly sizable difference. So, between hitting and not hitting, and actually the second best play is this one, is 2 down. So, here hitting is the right choice, regardless of whether you play it safe or not. I'm surprised at how big it is, because you still, you've got a 19 pip lead, even if you don't hit. And if you do hit, your pip lead is 28. So, which, it's an extra 9 pips, but it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it is. It is big enough to make it a blunder to not hit. And I guess, I'm not sure where the cutoff is, but I would think, you get the double 6s is 24. So if you're more than 24 ahead, that's a much safer spot to be in than less than 24, because the boxcars don't put you back in the game. Okay.
Such a huge difference there. It's very, do gammons do gammons come into it?
Yeah, well, I think you've got, there are no gammons really. Well, let's see. Yeah, maybe that's it. Here you're at 10% gammons with the top play, and 75% wins. With the second best play, you have fewer wins because you've given up, some racing chances, and only 3% gammons.
So not much.
So, and then hitting and coming down is, more gammons, but fewer wins, because if you get hit back, you're in, now you've given up your racing lead. If black gets the fly shot, you're getting up your racing lead. And also black has a slightly better board, which probably isn't the most important thing, but it's more giving up your racing lead with the hit. Okay.
But if I follow this, Gary, this position is giving a completely different answer from the first position you put up, where your rule was, if you're ahead, just race.
Well, I don't think that's the conclusion I draw from the first position, because let's put it back up. There was no, it wasn't just race here. It was, and part of it was, this board is so bad that you don't want to give up the shot. It's better to play completely safe. And here, with this one, at least, this hit is a safe move for at least the next move, for the next roll. And, but I guess your point is that, the next roll is fine, but what about, coming in, you still have to bear in with no inner board points and a checker to harass you, and big stacks of checkers on your 6 and your 7. So, I guess the conclusion I would draw is don't worry that far ahead.
Well, it's not the same message, is it? I mean, your first position definitely said play super safe if you're well ahead, and you're well ahead in this 9.
Yeah.
So I'm quite confused.
Well, I mean, I take the point. Let me see. If you have anything else to say about that? Yeah, he doesn't say. He says, unfortunately, a 19-point lead does not guarantee a victory. And then the extra gammon chances. So let's look back at the first one. Let's look at gammons here and see how much they matter. So here you have, with a hit play, you get 10% gammons and 6% without the hit. So yeah, so I'm not sure why that is. Well, yeah, probably is because you can hit one, and black can then come in and anchor. And then the black anchors, then your gammon chances are really, really way down. So yeah, these are, but your point, I think, is with this play, we're up 17, which is a whole lot better than being up 12. Yeah, so I would say Michi's explanation isn't that great. He kind of takes it as kind of obvious that hitting is better, and his statement that you're not guaranteed to win is not really that compelling to me.
The strength of black's board. I mean, there's so many other features which might
which could come into play. So if you put it,
that is a frightening board.
Yeah, if you put him here, does that matter? Not much. Not much. But again, here the rate, now you've got a better racing lead, and if you give up the shot, you give up your racing lead. So, but yeah, I see the point, and it's not really, doesn't really provide the best explanation. And he's focused on playing safe. So, assuming that that it's right to hit, what do you do after you hit? So, anyway, that's what Michi says. So the next one. 5-3 to play.
Well, here we're behind, aren't we?
Here we're behind.
Which seems a bit pointed to me.
And so, yeah, so here we're behind. So it's clear, the first thing you must hit here. Putting black on the bar. And then the question is, well, where's your 5? And so your natural point is to check, well, where does this one go? And it goes here. And as you can see, there are a lot of return shots. Any 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 5, 3 hits, and then another 5, 3. Yeah, so that's 6. And basically, if you get hit here, you probably lose. Your chance of losing are pretty strong. So, the question is, where does this where do you play the 5 now? And well, there's only one safe 5, and it's here, which is a really ugly place to do it. And this example is designed to show you that even no matter how ugly it is, you play super safe in this situation. So, well, let me show you the answer. Yeah, and so this play, I didn't do a ++ on it, but yeah, and it's right by lot. So this one I'm not sure that this one would be hard for me to do, because you should hate stacking checkers on the ace point. It's really not very good in the long run, but you don't you know, you don't give up the return shots, and return shot is a killer here pretty much.
What if you're down 2-6 to 7 point game?
Okay, why would that matter? I'll put it up, but why do you think that would matter?
Because you have to be more aggressive.
Okay, so. Well, let's put it in. You do, and you know, this I think maybe is slightly closer. But you know, the main point here is just to win. I don't think the gammons are that significant, 8%, and if you played it here, you up to 9%. But your wins here are 65 versus 62. So, you know, these are kind of close. They're hard to tell. But you know, even when you're down by a fair amount, you know, you got to win the game. And you know, if you get hit, your chances of winning aren't very good. So you know, there were, you know, there's 6 shots. You know, that's enough to push it over the edge. And it's not that, you know, it's not a blunder here to play it more aggressively, but it is wrong. It's you know, play it safe, super safe, as Michi says. Okay. Okay, 5-4 to play. And so with a big raise lead, and so the natural play really is 5 down to cover the 8 point, but there's no 4. There's no good 4. And so we're either going to leave a blot here if we do that, or go 4 here, leaving a direct shot at 4 and 1. So, you know, what do you do with that? Well, you know, Michi's answer is, okay, you got to play super safe. You're into completed stage. You've gotten your back checker out, or you will be with this roll. You know, so what's the play? Super safe, the safest play, I guess, is, I wouldn't call it super safe.
16, 11, 8, 4.
Yeah.
How many shots does that leave?
Yeah, so you're leaving just a 5-6.
No, you've not hit. You haven't, but no, you're leaving a lot more than that. You haven't hit anything.
Well, I know, okay, but black is on the bar. No, I'm sorry, black
Is he?
isn't on the bar.
No, he's not
Oh,
on the bar.
okay, yeah, black is not on the bar. So you're giving up a 6-4. That's the only one that this guy can hit. And you're
6-2,
giving up 6-2 and
5-3,
5-3
and
and
double
double
4.
4s.
How many is that?
That's 7 shots.
And double 2, actually.
And double 2, yeah, I missed that one, double 2. So that's 8 shots.
And the alternative gives.
So this is the next best one. And
there's
this one
2
is
blocks
close. This
and-
is 2 down. And but you're giving up direct 4s, direct
Yeah.
6s, and double 4s.
Well, yes.
Yeah, so this is, you know, and you know, this is really awkward because you've given up your outfield point. And, you know, and it's going to be, you know, you got a stacks here and stacks there, and you know, this is not great. But you know, this gives up 2 direct shots, 6s and 4s. So you got at least 20 shots. More than that, double 4s I already counted. Double
Yeah.
2s gonna hit.
3, 1, 4, 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, it's those as well.
Yeah, you got, you know, maybe 24, 25 hits. Black has the better board. It's not that much better, but so, well, and you know, even with that, it's not that far apart. it's 0.04 on plus plus. So, that, but again, the idea is super safe, even though it's ugly. Yeah, is the right play here. Even given that how awkward this is. Now, I did a variation on this because I got to put the answer here. So previously black had his 5 point. And in this situation, black does not have the 5 points. So I'm wondering how much that matters. Here, we're still at the completed stage, but black doesn't have nearly the threats with the board. Even though it's an extra point, but the 5 point is pretty important. And here, the answer is not to play super safe necessarily. Plus plus, it's 2 down.
Close,
Uh,
yeah.
And although, let's see, this is a safe play. So it switches it a little bit. It's not much different, but it switches it a little bit. And Michi doesn't talk a lot in this book about things like, stronger board versus board. So the traditional kind of bold safe analysis would say, well, you got the better board, you can play a little bit more aggressively. And so maybe you want to make the point, and that's a better play. And it's close here, but and it would say without with black having the better board, you're going to play a little more safely. Here, Michi is just saying, play it safe, and it turns out that the impact of the board makes a little bit of a difference. I would say that I would just remember to play it safe. If you make this error here, that's not going to be your biggest problem, probably. Again, if you're fighting, if you're trying to get below 4 in your PR, then you might worry about this sort of exception. But for most of us, play it safe is a pretty good rule. And if we make the small error here, then that's we'll be wrong, but most of the time we'll be right. All right, couple more, 3 more. Now, yeah, this one is this one is interesting because this is an exception that and that Michi goes into. One of the few times where he kind of discusses exceptions here. So we have the super safe play is going to be 8 to 2. Because now we cover the 2 point, giving up no shots. We're still pretty strong here. However, the right play is making the 4 point. And making the 2, covering the 2 point is a huge blunder, 0.30. And so why is that? Well, the explanation that Michi gives is that, okay, we're up by 58 pips. And black has something of a board, but it's not, it's not the end of the world necessarily if you get hit here. And so his argument is that when the race is so far ahead that it doesn't really matter. I mean, if we go back, if we get hit here on the deuce, we're going to go back 24 pips. We're still up over 30 pips, even if we get hit. So his argument there is, if you're that far ahead or behind in the race, then you're better off playing what he calls playing pure. Now, a lot of people use playing pure, and I'm not entirely sure that everyone uses it consistently, but Michi means by playing it pure, so we make the next point that you want to make. And don't make the 2, don't worry about the 2 point, even though it's a blot, when you could make the 4 point, because the 4 point is a much better point to make than the 2. So that's you know, actually, one of the few times that Michi does cover an exception, and I don't know if, I don't think he had more examples of this. But it would be nice, and maybe when he's got a long a list of, or long series of examples that we'll get to in later on in the book, and maybe he'll cover some more of those there. But you know, it would have been nice to have for him to provide some more examples of this sort of thing.
But you have this luxury just because you're so far ahead and can survive ahead, perhaps.
Yeah, well, that's his argument. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's why, that's his
Can
explanation.
you test? Can you test it if you reduce the lead? Will that switch it over? Because you rather.
Oh, that makes it harder. That makes it higher. Let's,
You also have a couple of good builders there. If you don't get hit, you've got 6s and 4s to cover that 2 point.
yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point too.
Good point. Yeah.
Well, let's see. Let's see if, well, maybe if it's the board strength. Let's look at the board strength. Yeah, so even now, this, you know, this is a pretty compelling board. But it's still a big blunder, not quite as big a blunder to leave that blot there. So let's move it. What if we did this? So that's, oh, here we go. Yeah, so now we're down to 27 pips lead. And so now it's right to cover. So I don't know how, let's move it back a little bit, see how much that matters. See if we can get it back. It's still right to cover, even though it leads 30.
You know, to me, it's not just the race, but the fact that Black will be forced to move off of the mid. So then you can take checkers off of the third team without worrying about Black hitting you from the mid.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the, yeah, that's the thing with backhand. There's so many things going on that it's hard to sort out what's more important. I mean, here we're looking at a very strong board, so you know, getting hit here is much worse than in the original example, where he didn't have much of a board. It was all race lead. So
Can we go back to the original example?
yeah. Yeah, so here, I mean, if you get hit, you know, you're going to go back in the race, but you're still way up in the race. And then Black has a problem. He has to come in and you know, make his board, make his prime. But what's likely, Black is also going to have to extract himself from the back, and with no midpoint, you know, he's going to be vulnerable at times, you know, as he breaks his bar point or breaks his 3-point. He's going to leave various shots which you can come in and hit on, you know, and a fly shot come into the bar from the bar, or even just from the midpoint or somewhere else, or you know, coming in from the back into the outfield. So you know, that's part of Black. You know, even if you get hit in this situation, Black has you know, is not home free by any stretch of the imagination. You know, and you should be, White should be able to pop out here at some point, you know, not necessarily the next roll, but, you know, down the road, because Black still has to bring his checkers around. He's not going to be able to build this prime and hold it forever. You know, he's going to have to bring some checkers around and give you some shots at some point. So, yeah, you know, that's part of it too. But, you know, and so it's probably oversimplified, but, you know, you know, there's so much going on here that it's hard to weigh all this stuff. But Michi points to the huge race lead and is, you know, it says basically, you know, huge race lead, play pure. He didn't specify what he meant by huge, but 58 is pretty large. I would guess. Well, we looked at it down to 30 or something like that. So, whoops. This is 42. Yeah, and we're still. Now we're down to 30, and now we're getting into close. So, it looks like, again, this is one example, but 30 pips, something more than 30 pips is maybe where the cutoff is. But again, we're looking at one example, so I'm not exactly sure what that is. Okay, let's go on to the next couple here. Last two. So here, this is interesting too, because remember the last chapter or last one, he's telling you if you have a really substantial race that you're going to play pure, which would make, again, making the 4-point here. But we've got 22 pips, and that really is enough. Also, black has nothing of a board. It's a real mess of a board, including checker loose on its ace, loose on its 5. So here the answer is going to be okay. So we're back to super safe, and and this is wrong. Now my guess is that if you let's see if you made it a big race lead, maybe making the 4-point is right here. Yeah. So here's kind of an example where now we're going to play pure, I guess. You give up you're giving up a double shot here to make the 4-point. And actually this is interesting too. Now 13-7 is a blunder. And 13-9, actually this is a rollout. So this may actually be the right play. I would never make this play, but I would never think of this play. But because you're giving up a lot of shots. But again, black's board is so weak that there may be advantage to getting a shot. My guess is that if you put, it's not quite as weak now, and now you're not going to play nearly as loose. But now it's a kind of a toss-up between making the 4-point, giving up a double shot, and making the or not making, but bringing one safely from the bar. So
also, if he's going to hit on that double shot, he's going to have to break up at least one of his anchors.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Yeah, in general, if you want to, if you have to leave a shot, you want to put it in front of a strip point. So here, his anchors are strip points. So if he's going to hit you from it, he's going to break that anchor, which is going to give you the opportunity to counterattack somewhere down the road. If not the next roll, then maybe the roll after that. So, that's a good thing to keep in mind too.
So, Gary, when
Yeah.
you say to put it in front of a strip point, do you mean the exact point in front of the strip point, or 2 away?
No, somewhere within reach. So like a direct 6. So like here, here you're leaving it. You're leaving the blot. Let's put in the final. So this blot is in front of this strip point. So I don't mean that if your strip point is in the 5 that you're leaving the blot in the 6. I'm leaving it, anywhere out here in the outfield. You're placing it within a direct shot. Now, actually, you're placing it within a direct shot of 2 strip points. So that, which is not, which makes it worse because you're more likely to get hit here. But and then black, black breaking his back anchor is not that is not that dangerous for him because he wants to. He doesn't. You don't really want to play a back game if you can. And by this one, bringing the checker out and hitting, you've allowed him, much more safely to move his back checker forward. It's not completely safe, but it's a good opportunity to do that. So anyway, that's what I mean by a strip point. It's not directly ahead, but it was within 6, within a direct shot. Okay, last one for today. So here. This is an interesting one, and I forgot what definition, because this doesn't really look like a completed stage one. So let me see what he said here. So I guess the question is, you're forced to come in with the 4. Oops, there you go. And so what do you do from here?
I would slot the 5.
Yeah. We're sliding the 5. Yeah, I mean, it looks. Yeah, it looks reasonable. I guess, well, yeah, okay, so yeah, Michi kind of throws this one, but he's looking at from perspective of Black. Now, we've all been looking at, okay, we're in the completed stage. So you know, what do we want to play safely? Here, we're not in the completed stage, but Black is about to be in the completed stage. So you know, what do we want to do? We want to, you know, we want to kind of mess Black up. And the answer is, you know, to hit him, to get him out of the completed stage. Also, you know, we're way behind in the race, and you know, if we let Black go, let's look at the answer here first. If we let Black go with, say, this play, chances are he's going to be able to bring his checkers around. And safely, and then, you know, maybe attack this point. In any case, we're way behind in the race, and our best shot at this point is to make the 20 point. You know, but we haven't done that yet. So really, you have to hit here, and it's a blunder not to hit here. Now,
Suppose we had already made our 4,
yeah, I
5,
was just going to say that. Let's say that we're here already. Now what?
Well, I wouldn't hit there and spoil our backgame timing.
Yeah, so the question here is, do you know, and this is, you know, in back games, this is one of the dilemmas with the Black game. Okay, we've got the back game, but we really don't have a board yet. And so do we want to hit him before we have the board? And then on the other hand, you know, and with a back game, you want timing. But what timing means is that you're going to be well behind in the race, because you're going to want to let Black come to you and be forced to leave a shot. And so the question here is, okay, we're going to come in on the 4. Do we have the timing to play the back game? Or are we going to be forced to break our anchor before Black is forced to leave a shot? And so I think the answer here is, you know, it would be a hit. Yeah, that's what I thought. It would be to hit too. Hit as well, even though you've already got the back game. And you know, this is not nearly the blunder that the other play was. The other play was a 0.3 over 0.3 error. So this is, you know, this is closer because you've already got your back game structure set up, but it's still right to hit. And just, you know, the way that you're going to play this is you're going to very aggressively build your board. So if he doesn't come in, and if Black comes in and hits you back off the 5, okay, now that's going to give you timing. That's going to give you the timing that you need to actually play the back game, and to spend your time, you know, building up a decent board while Black is forced to bring his checkers around, and you know, and forced to give up shots, you know, trying to bring his checkers around. Before you're either forced to crash your board or break your anchors. I mean, that's what happens in the back game, is that if you're playing the back game, you've got to have time so that your opponent is forced to leave a shot when he gets down to these awkward, trying to clear the last few points, which is the hardest part to do. But if you're forced to break your anchor or to break your board, then the whole effectiveness of the back game is gone. Because if you don't have a good board, your back game is worthless. And then if you have to give up your anchor, then you've got a single anchor game with a bad, with a real racing deficit, and that's not a good game either.
So would you do that in the hopes that you would get hit to go back with, and have two guys back there?
Yeah,
In other
well,
words, 2, 4,
yeah, the thing
6?
is, here with this play, you've got two ways to go. You're down 33, which isn't great, but it's not bad. It's not enough for a back game. But if you do get hit, if you either here or here, you're going to be farther behind in the race. That may give you the timing for a back game. When you have the double anchor here, though, you can play very loosely inside. You can hit loose. You can slot. With the idea being that, well, if you get hit, now you have timing for a back game. And if you don't get hit, well, now you've built your board, and then hitting them will give you a much better shot. So that's kind of the hitting him will give a much better chance for you to contain his last checker. And then if you can build a prime or force him to dance a couple times in the bar, now you have a chance to build the prime or come in with build another point. Bring some checkers around, now you've got a stronger game. Yep. The back game, the problem with the back game is that there are times when your opponent does clear without you getting, or he leaves you a shot and you miss it. And if you miss some shots on the back game, there's a good chance that you'll get gammoned. So the back game is a really high, it's a high risk strategy. Maybe your only strategy, maybe your best bet, but there's high risk involved, because the tricky part for black is to clear his last points, and but high doubles or something like that, or low doubles can clear it pretty quickly, or at least make it safe, pretty safe. So and if that happens, and you have a well-timed backing, that means you're well behind in the race. There's a good chance you'll get gammoned, and that's the downside of that. Okay, so that's the end of that chapter. That's the end of the three stages. They talked about the initial, advanced, and completed stage for Michi's strategy, and then we'll look at specific situations. We'll look at what he calls the solo stage and what he calls the butterfly anchor in a couple coming sessions. All right, so let's stop the recording.